Hey y'all, it's LD, and the title self-explanatory. Are you being recruited by AP? You saw that 5691 that was up in the thumbnail, right? That pocket watch that was there. Yet, for the past week, you've probably seen the AP by Swatch collaboration of the pocket watch that they are about to release, or by the time you've seen this, they would have actually already released, and to the public. And you saw this over and over again, and it's the same kind of feedback. It's been very polarizing. Do you like it? Are you getting it? Do you want it? Everything back and forth. And I wonder why all of a sudden does Swatch garner such attention? Now, does Swatch garner such attention because of AP, or does AP now relevant because of Swatch? Yeah, when you say it that way, it doesn't make any sense. But this is what you've been hearing. You've been hearing for the past 6 months that Swatch Group is running out of money. They have no more ideas. That Swatch, since the Moon Swatch, there's no collaboration. There's nothing, no new novel ideas. Then you also hear from social media that AP is a one watch brand. They have nothing other than the Royal Oak. So now for Swatch to take a collaboration with AP, with the Royal Oak, it seems like it might be a money grab. But is it? Why would Swatch and why would AP do this collaboration, and why now? And so I thought deeper, because initially the knee-jerk reaction was that this was a fun, I like Swatch collaborations, and I thought that this was a fun way for an interpretation of the AP and to tell time. But then I had to dig a little bit deeper and think of how two brands who arguably can be heralded as saving the Swiss watchmaking industry, especially in the 70s and the 80s, especially the luxury side and the regular consumer side. Because, hey, if you look at Swatch Group, everybody is in the Swatch Group. So let's talk about this. I got my notes, because one of the things is this a money grab? Is this a money grab from Swatch? Is Swatch going broke, losing money, out of ideas, doing all this other stuff? I don't know, because they seem to be profitable. They seem to be making millions of watches across the group. And them announcing this partnership, even before it was fully announced, just the font and the colors of this partnership created buzz. So just that buzz alone, it lets me think that Swatch is fairly relevant. You have second party or secondary flippers camping out, because there's no better place to camp out than at a Swatch boutique. And then you have third party accessory manufacturers making straps and all kind of things for a watch that they haven't really had hands on. But all the criticism is about the collaboration. Let's talk about if we're going to talk about the watch, and this is the one part I really want to talk about the watch, is the movement. The System 51 movement, which was revolutionary because it was made completely by machines. It was laser regulated. It had a plus 15, minus 5 accuracy going on, and it was automatic. And it was a maintenance-free, disposable, throwaway movement, non-serviceable movement. But most times when it was used in a fully encapsulated housing. Now we have sapphire crystal top and bottom, which means that it can actually be deconstructed. And you have a manual wind version. As a matter of fact, this collection has 15 patents altogether and 8 patents alone on the movement, where now, instead of having the automatic movement, as a matter of fact, one of the things I thought was cool on this particular version of the System 51 manual wind movement was that it is the barrel spring that's inside of there, the coil, right? It acts as a visual reference power reserve indicator by changing color as it expands and contracts to tell you how much power that's in there when you need to wind it. And I thought that was really cool. Speaking of, I thought that was I don't want to say a cool complication, but if you think about this collaboration allows for future. I mean, this is not a limited. It's a limited production run, but not a limited production, if that makes sense. So this allows Swatch to do what it does best, which is to add future money grabs to this collection, add special editions, add maybe a Swatch by AP jump hour, whatever it is. It allows those future iterations to happen. And speaking of complications, speaking of AP is in a very complicated position right now. So if you look at AP is one of these traditional Swiss watchmaking brands that it doesn't look, it's not like Rolex where it looks in cycles and decades and centuries. It looks generationally. It looks, what does the next 1, 2, 3 generations look like down the road? And you see this because to this day, on its board or in its watchmakers, you have fourth and fifth generation Audemars and Piguet descendants that are still working at AP. So when we think about that, is AP really a one watch brand? I mean, in the past 10 years, they've introduced things like the code 1159, the neophrame jump hour. They've had grand complications and the star wheel in the 1159. They've had perpetual calendars in the Royal Oak that are as thin as the original jumbo. And we still look at them as being one watch brand just because of one popular watch. And we cannot say that the Royal Oak is not a popular and iconic watch. But would we say that Rolex is nothing more than a Submariner? I don't think so. So you can, two things can be true at once. You can have an iconic brand and not necessarily be a one watch brand. Okay. Now, I want to talk about AP real quick on the history side, because what keeps on getting asked is, does this diminish the brand? And I think right now, this collaboration is pretty much on brand. AP started out with pocket watches. As a matter of fact, what the strength of AP was complications. They made the first minute repeater, which is a very hard movement to begin with. They made the first minute repeater for a wristwatch and actually sold that minute repeater to Omega. So if you want to think about a collaboration between a Swatch Group member and AP, I mean, it goes back over 100 years. And here's what's even beyond that. Maybe Swatch should make a collaboration with Omega and see how that works. Maybe that collaboration may take off. We don't know, right? You tell me. That being said, when we're talking about AP, when I first saw this, I thought that, well, you know what? AP is going through Swatch because they want to make a new future customer. They want to take that, manipulate that 13 or 14, 12, 10-year-old and put a watch in their hands that looks like a Royal Oak so that they can buy one 20 years from now. But then I thought a little bit deeper. See, AP's problem is not how to make a new customer. AP's problem, and really the Swiss watchmaking problem, is how to make a new watchmaker. You see, in the Swiss watchmaking industry, there's 65,000 people estimated working in the entire Swiss watchmaking industry. And they make millions of watches a year. But worldwide, there's only about 20,000 professional watchmakers. And less than half of that is in Switzerland. And then you got to convince those watchmakers to leave Geneva and Zurich and those other places to go, what's the other place? Neuchâtel, to go into the hills, to the valley, to La Brassus, to live there and work there. A place that actually snows like what, 7 months out of the year? 7 to 9 months. As a matter of fact, this is a farming community. This was what originally started AP. They were a bunch of farmers, farming families. And during the winter, when it was snowing, when it could no longer grow, they learned to work on watch components and learned watchmaking to make extra money. And these families specialized in certain things, such as finishing, movements, acoustics, resonance, all these different things certain families specialize in, and those families still work at AP today. But you still need to create new watchmakers for the future. Just like in any other industry, you need to create new engineers, new pilots, new whatever for the future. And with some brands, that may be, well, we just make better robots. Rolex said that they invested 100 million Swiss francs into automation last year, in automation machines. Well, brands like AP, Patek, Moser, those brands don't invest in necessary automation. They have to invest in better hands and newer hands. So how do you do that? You have to influence that next generation. And this is kind of what I think about. If you take this new collaboration, it's bright colored, it's in a pocket watch, it's manual wind. I mean, you think about the chronograph. You know, one of the most popular chronographs out there is not necessarily the Rolex Daytona, but it's the Moon Swatch, the Moon Watch, because you have the pushers, but it's also manual wind. So you have to get up, you have to work with this watch on a near daily basis and interact with it for it to keep proper time. With the AP by Swatch World Pop, you're going to have to interact with this watch on a near daily basis for it to keep accurate time. And you're going to build a relationship with this ceramic, bioceramic, plastic watch. And if you're 10, 15, 20 years old, that might be the difference between you spending the next 10, 15, 20 years learning the skills, learning the crafts, having something, 12 inches away from your face that you're looking over on a bench for years, months, decades, perfecting a certain level of craft of watchmaking. And I think that's what AP is really doing. And how do I even, what enhances that? Not only did the CEO, Ms. Resta, say that, not only did the CEO say that, you know what, this is supposed to be a new interaction of watchmaking. It was also said this, and I think I have it on my notes. Hold on a second. In my notes, where is that? AP will give 100% of the proceeds to go fund watchmaking initiatives for the next generation of skilled watchmakers. So this isn't even a money grab profitability. This is a money grab investment into the next generation. So let's walk this back a little bit. When we see the polarized response to this AP collaboration, is it because we're trying to preserve a legacy of a watch? Are we trying to protect a brand or brands? Or do we have to reflect a little bit hard and see if we're just projecting? If you have something to add to this conversation, please like, please comment, please hit your notification bell. If you have nothing or you don't like my take on this conversation, hit the dislike button twice to let me know that you really didn't like this. Thank you for watching.